my lovelies, and welcome to Where the Road Rises with me, your host, Eileen Curlin Walsh. Our guest today is First Vice President of Heidi Wealth Management here in Palos Heights, Vanessa Poppe. Vanessa wears many hats with her clients at Heidi, from advisor to analyst to coach to confidant, in order to create the financial roadmap and strategy that will fund their big life goals and dreams. And as the team's only female financial advisor, Vanessa is also uniquely qualified to empathize with the financial challenges women face, such as during their motherhood years, divorce, widowhood, etc. Vanessa is detail-oriented, she's personable, and we are delighted to have her share her wisdom with us today. Welcome, Vanessa.
Thank you, Eileen.
So how long have you been with Heidi Wealth Management, and how long have they been in business? And tell us about their connection to RBC Wealth Management.
Wonderful. Okay. I've been with our team for 10 years. Our team has been rooted in Palos Heights for 35 years, since my partner Dave Heidi opened an office for Edward Jones in 1990. So since then, the team has grown to a multi-generational team of 10. RBC Wealth Management can trace its roots back to a firm in 1909 in St. Paul, Minnesota.
That's amazing. And the connection between Heidi and RBC is?
We joined, so our team joined RBC Wealth Management and became part of RBC Wealth Management in 2016.
Oh, beautiful, Vanessa. And tell me about your ideal clients, your typical clients.
Typical and ideal clients, quite a range. So we work with individuals, families, corporations, businesses, foundations, your neighbor next door, you name it.
Yeah, so the entire gamut. And what value do you add to your clients' lives and their financial planning?
I'd say our team structure, so being part of that group of 10, our team structure is a big differentiator for us. My partners and I range from our 20s to our 60s, and so we all have different educational backgrounds, family histories. We've all taken different paths into the financial services industry, so our collective perspective, if you will, is an added benefit when we are managing our clients' investment portfolios. We're kind of able to uniquely relate to different generations and different clients.
That's a lot of wisdom, a lot of wisdom under
collective,
one roof.
yes.
Yes, and what do you believe? Those who say, I can do my own planning, I can do my own saving. For those who don't work with a financial advisor or a team like yours, what are they missing, Vanessa?
We believe that working with a financial advisor helps a client focus on long-term planning strategies and stay on track as they work toward their goals. It's having a disciplined approach is really what helps us partner with our clients on.
Yeah, and I think we probably all could use a second opinion when we decide that we want to get a fabulous new vehicle or we want to make a big spend. Not saying that we couldn't do that if it's in the plan, but a neutral professional body giving us advice and reminding of us of our long-term goals. I think we certainly could all use that, Vanessa. So is there a minimum asset requirement to work with your group?
Depending on client circumstances, of course, in generally speaking, our minimum client account balance, is $500,000.
So clients would need to already have done a little bit of saving, have established themselves maybe in their career, have already had a saving mentality, put some money equity into their retirement accounts, their 401k, and then you can take them and really help them take off with that, plan for that. What kind of goals, what kind of life goals do you see your clients have?
Particularly retirement, of course, right? We work and we save our whole lives, and that question of, am I going to make it? Or have I saved enough? Or are my goals in alignment with my assets? So,
yeah. And I would imagine planning for children, college, grandchildren's college, the gifts, the travel, the things you want to start, the legacy that you want to leave. So just could you break down your services, exactly what kind of financial services you provide?
definitely. So we take a very personalized approach with each of our client relationships. So we're looking at the big picture. Apart from managing traditional and alternative investments, we're looking at the cash management side, the insurance needs, the estate planning, right? Partnering with our clients' other professionals, so their tax advisor, their estate advisor. So we're definitely looking at a very planning-based and kind of coordinating with their other professionals.
Yeah. And speaking of estate planning, Vanessa, you said, and I don't think any other guest has said this to me before, that you would like, because there are so many connections and synergy between financial planning and estate planning, that you would like to turn the tables and ask me a few questions about estate planning. So I say, jump right in.
I sure would. Thank you so much. We receive so many questions from clients. We have our own questions, right? I mentioned we're a team of 10. And so some of the top questions that I would say we receive are, number one would be, how often do I need to review my estate plan?
Oh, and that is such a good question. So let me tell you, after over 20 years of doing estate planning, here are the patterns I see and what my recommendations are. So often people do not plan when they are single, because single people are invincible, right? So often people will plan first when they have a little one. You know, they realize, oh my gosh, I have to take care of this baby whether I'm here or not. So their parental responsibility will often kick in, and they'll get maybe just wills, guardians in place for the what if they have little children. And they may not need to change that at all for years and years and years, because if we're young parents, we're just getting started with our mortgage, we're just getting started with our retirement plans, our careers, our professions. So that may not need to be changed for decades.
Okay.
And next up is, those little ones are all grown now, and we've gone from just starting out in our careers and having only paid a couple of years in our mortgage to maybe the home is paid off. Maybe we're getting ready for retirement. We have our financial accounts, thanks to our wonderful financial planners, you know, already matured now, and we do have funds there. So a midlife, and I'm talking about responsible adults, because of course, and unfortunately, there are many who don't plan at all. But for those who do plan, first stage is often little children, second stage is children grown, getting ready to retire, assets matured and accumulated. Let's get a trust maybe now in place. And then that may be just fine for another few decades. And then the next change might be, we're starting to get a little shaky. We're maybe in our 70s, 80s, 90s. We need a little bit more help. Maybe those little children that are midlife stage, we put in place as our financial agents, our healthcare, our trustees. They're now stepping in to actually help us at that stage where we're not able to get our arms around everything anymore. There's often a little bit of a tweaking at that stage, because that daughter that we knew would just be our perfect healthcare agent got married and, you know, is now living in Florida or China. And we might need to say, well, who's a little bit closer now, and who would be that person that we would want to get in place? So it's I think the biggest answer I could give you to your question is, estate planning is not a one and done. It's also not something, unless you have tremendously complicated assets or family situations, that you need to look at every year. For a lot of people, 3 big tweaks in their lifetime is enough. For those who have a more complex business situation or family situation or have taxable estates, maybe every 5 years. Does that answer your question?
Okay, it sure does. I love all of that context. Thank you. So at least a few times during our lifetime, depending on our milestones, our own unique individual circumstances.
Exactly.
Okay, I like it. What about when do I start? I think you got to this a little bit, but when do I start looking at or thinking about establishing a trust? When do I need a trust?
So that middle stage, absolutely, Vanessa, because as I said, with that younger couple who don't really have a lot of equity in their home or anything yet, when they do their first planning, they're really thinking about guardianship for their children. But at the second stage, when we already have those assets in place, now is the time to start thinking about a trust. And a trust is a really robust estate planning vehicle because through that trust, not only do we stay out of probate, we can plan for if our estate, thanks again to our great financial professionals, if our estate has grown large enough to be taxable, we can make sure that we get the best possible, most favorable tax consequences through trust planning. We can take care of vulnerable family members. You know, often we think about planning for a nice, competent, healthy, grown children where everybody's speaking to each other, and that isn't always the case, of course. We might have estrangements. We sometimes have blended marriages, which calls for very delicate and very purposeful estate planning. So the trust is when we have either a family situation that needs extra help or assets that have grown beyond the basics. That's when it's time to get that trust in place.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Understood. Can you give us an idea what's the difference between a will and a trust?
So that's probably one of my most common questions.
Okay.
And a will is not as good as a trust, but a will alone is better than nothing. Both of those planning vehicles will determine who's going to be in charge of your assets, either if you become incapacitated or after death. And both of those vehicles determine who will get what you have, your stuff, your money, everything that you have accumulated during your lifetime. But the will is designed for probate court. And that is probably the greatest surprise that families find, and the biggest disappointment. If the parents just had a will, after death, maybe they were beneficiaries on the various accounts, so they were able to access the IRA, the investments, the bank accounts. But then they go to sell the home and they hand a will to a realtor or an attorney or a title company, and they'll say, no, 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 we need letters of office from court. So the will has to go through a court process if there's a big asset that needs that vehicle to get to the family. A trust avoids all of that. So we talked earlier about how trust can save you taxes. It can include your out-of-state property and your in-state property. It can include all of your assets, not just your home. That trust keeps you out of probate and then has a whole plethora of other advantages. But if I was to say what's the one difference, it's that a will is designed for probate and a trust is designed to be a private vehicle that operates outside the court system very, very privately, which is what our clients love.
Okay, I love that too. Yes, I do think of wills as wishes, right? And kind of a little bit, it's like your step one, and then the trust is really solidifies and keeps things out of the court system.
Yeah,
so
it's such a foundational vehicle.
Okay, wonderful. Couple more questions, if that's okay with you. We're talking about trust. What's the difference between a living trust and a land trust?
Oh, that's a good question. A living trust is what a lot of our community have and need. A revocable living trust, actually that term means that this is not just for after your death. It's for during your lifetime, assets in this trust can be managed by your successor trustee if you're still here and able. Or it may not be that you've lost capacity. It could be that, you know, you just have other better things to do and you want a bank or a family member or a trusted loved one to take care of those assets for you. So a living trust can be for during your lifetime as well as after death. And it can contain all of your assets.
Okay.
Your home, your out-of-state property, your business, your investments. A land trust, which at this point in 2025 is a little bit of an old-fashioned vehicle, but it does still exist. A land trust is for your property only.
Okay.
A land trust is what we would use if we had that situation we mentioned earlier where we have those nice competent children. They are beneficiaries on all of the accounts, and the only thing that would trigger a probate is the home. Then we can put the home in a land trust. Land trusts used to be very typical in the community when we had local banks. So right up until maybe 10, 15 years ago, where we had many, many local community banks. Each bank had a trust department. Mom and dad could just fill out the paperwork. The bank would get the work done for them. And everyone knew the home was in the trust at the bank. You paid your fee per year. Mom and dad passed away. It was so easy for the children all to agree, sell the property or do whatever it was they wanted to do with it. One of the problems with land trusts is that we don't have that many community banks anymore.
True.
Community banks have just been taken over by larger and larger and larger conglomerate banks and those big banks tend not to want a local land trust department. So for any of you who had your home in a land trust with Standard Bank or First Midwest or any of those local banks that we no longer have, it's probably with Chicago Title, because Chicago Title Land Trust Company has the land trust now of hundreds and hundreds of local banks. So they do still exist. There's a privacy of ownership with a land trust through a title company or a bank that you really don't get any other way. So for a very limited number of either business people or high-risk professionals, a land trust still has a place in their estate planning, but it has been largely supplanted by the living trust.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
which can contain the home as well as everything else.
Okay, that was going to be my last question. So really the living trust contains that home or those physical properties.
Absolutely. So just as surely as we would retitle your home into the land trust, we can retitle your home into your revocable living trust. We can retitle some businesses as appropriate. We can retitle your investment accounts. We can retitle when they mature your CDs, your bank accounts. There are some assets that don't belong, as you very well know, in the revocable living trust, such as retirement accounts, 401s, 403bs, IRAs. They have to be individual. But we can, if it's appropriate, make the trust the beneficiary. And that's a whole big subject in itself, correct? Yeah.
Correct.
You know, sometimes it's going to be appropriate for the trust to be the primary beneficiary of a retirement account. Often family members, again, if we have that nice, competent, healthy family member, due to certain tax consequences and benefits, will be the beneficiary, but that is the case-by-case basis. And as we talk about these subjects, and this is as true for Vanessa and her clients as it is for me and mine, yes, we can talk about general financial planning, general estate planning, but ultimately your situation, your family, your assets, your whole totality of your circumstances is what's going to determine your estate plan and what's right for you, and your financial plan and what's right for you. Would you agree, Vanessa?
Absolutely. Everyone is generally the same, but a little slight difference here or there, or so that's exactly why we always say we take a very personalized approach. There's no such thing as you fit in this box or that box or that, right? Always a little variance.
Your good professionals do not cookie cut, which is why if you need advice about your money or your estate plan, your will, your trust, you do go to a trusted professional. Vanessa, I want to turn the tables back on you and ask you, if you have words to live by, do you have a favorite quote, biblical passage, something your mother used to say, anything that you would share with our viewers that's given you comfort, that's given you wisdom that you want to pass on?
Actually, comfort is exactly what I was thinking of. Something that came to me many years ago is just simply bloom where you are planted. And so life circumstances take us all over the world, all over our hopes and wishes and dreams are not always aligned with our current circumstances. And so one of my favorites, I would say, is bloom where you are planted. Flourish when and where you can.
Make the best of whatever comes your way. I just love that, Vanessa.
Definitely.
Okay, last question. How can our viewers get a hold of you if they'd like to talk to you more about their particular financial situation and their life goals and dreams?
Thank you. Our team, myself and any of my partners, can be contacted at 708-364-2025. Our office is located in Palos Heights on College Drive. As you know, we're not far from each other. We are located on College Drive, Route 83, just west of Harlem. So we'd love a phone call, a visit to the office, anything like that.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Vanessa. I really enjoyed speaking with you, and thank you for sharing your wisdom and your insight with our viewers today. And viewers, I'm going to leave you with a little challenge. So last month, January, we talked about organization. We talked about making sure that you started out the year by clearing your closets, by clearing the attics and basements, and getting your life ready for everything that you want to bring into it. Ideal for your personal growth and development. I would like you now also to think about making sure you have your financial life in order and making sure that you have an estate plan in place. I just started today, for those of you who follow me on Facebook, a 3-day challenge. So today I asked you to start thinking about whom you would want to be in charge and whom you'd want to get your stuff. Just there. We're going to start right there because I know this can all be overwhelming. And then tomorrow we're going to start thinking about your assets and your finances and how those are currently and pulling all of those together. And then on Friday we'll talk about what to do with all of that information. So if you would like to know more about estate planning, if you'd like to know more about financial planning, you know how to get a hold of my office, you know how to get a hold of Vanessa, and you can always contact me here at Palos Heights TV. So thanks once again for listening, and I will see you next month on Where the Road Rises. Until then, goodbye.